We salute you. So, good morning, and this is the Get Busy Living podcast, and I'm Dr. Scott from Six Sense Acupuncture and the Healthy Habits Club, and we've got a special guest today, so Joshua George, and thank you very much, Josh, for coming on and giving us your wealth of information and well, ideas as well, and yeah, we appreciate your time, brother.
No worries. Thank you so much, Dr. Scott, for having me, man. I'm super excited. Let's jump into it.
Yeah, let's jump in. All right, let's go head first. All about feet first. I don't care either way. So, I'll ask you my first question. So, tell us, Josh, what gets you out of bed every morning?
Well, look, if I'm being real, most days it's probably the alarm, the bills, responsibilities. But I think on a deeper level, man, it's gratitude, right? Pretty simple. I think, we live in a beautiful part of the world. There's a lot to be grateful for. And I think, you got to get up and make the most of your day. We got limited time here. And, I'd hate to kind of get to the end of, the end of it and look back and just think that I've coasted through. So I try and get up and, make the most of every day. So.
That's wonderful, mate. And, so yeah, you're looking after yourself, and so then you can help the community itself as well. So that's like you said, gratitude to yourself and also gratitude to the community, and that's very commendable.
100%.
Thank you very much.
Man. We're very, very lucky,
So I see you're on LinkedIn anyway. That you got Trigger. So that's your Instagram profile. Is that right?
Yeah, the Instagram is This Is Trigger, but Trigger is obviously an app that we're coming to the end of building. Should be launching in late November. I'm hoping all goes well.
All right, so that this will be a plug for you, and we can't give you the app details as of yet, but we can talk about the app. Is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to.
So that's good. Let's plug it. So just tell us what got you into creating the Trigger app, and what's it about as well. I suppose the first question. Sure. There's a second question. You want to answer that first, or the first question?
Well, look, I guess I'll give some context, right? So look, for the last probably 10 years, I've been dealing with drug and alcohol addiction. It's always kind of been a part of my life since I was very young, unfortunately, and it's also run in my family, and I've got a lot of friends and family that are also affected, right? So I've been on that journey, and it's obviously been very hard on me, but it's also been very hard on the people around me, right? Like family, friends, people that love and support me, right? And so when I was trying to get help, probably for the last 5-6 years, I've been aware that there's been a problem and trying different things to resolve the problem. A lot of the options didn't really fit for me. I feel like AA, is kind of the go-to. It's great for some people. I know people that have gotten a lot out of it. For me, it always just felt a little bit outdated and a little bit sort of one size fits all, if that makes sense. Which, recovery addiction is not a one size fits all type of thing. There are, obviously apps out there that, again, some of them are better than others. But again, I didn't feel like a lot of them really were the full picture. Most of them are just sort of day counters, which is great. But I don't believe in counting days as a strategy forever. Sorry to go off on a tangent, but there's a Tony Robbins quote, which I really, really like. And he's talking to someone about quitting smoking, right? And the guy says to him, it's been 3 days since I've had a cigarette. And he goes, why are you counting? Is it so that you can tell people how long you lasted this time? And I just think that's a really good sort of reframe, right? Like, what are you counting for? Because when change happens, it's an identity shift, and counting days isn't a strategy forever, I don't think. But that's what a lot of these apps are, right? And then look, some of them are too expensive, especially for someone who's got addiction problems. Money is definitely a finite thing for a lot of people. A lot of them have communities and different things where you can kind of have a bit of a forum, and that is good as well. But I felt like sometimes they did a little bit more harm than good. So anyway, sorry to go off on a tangent, but basically Trigger is is an app that I've built where I don't know. I basically just put everything that I want and that helps me, that I've found along my journey, into an app. So I don't know how deep you want to go into it, but I guess the first thing is you log on and you get like an AI checkup with Janet, our AI mentor, which I'm pretty proud of. And basically, the AI sets it up, asks you some questions, asks about where you're at in your recovery, and basically personalizes your dashboard, gives you some recommendations, and basically sets it all up for you. And then you log in. There's all sorts of different features where you can help. There is the day counter, which is good. I believe it is good for some people early on in recovery, but there are a couple of other features which I think are really unique. One of them is kind of where the app gets its name from. Triggers are a big thing with addiction. Locations, people, events, these things trigger unwanted sort of behaviors, right? So we've built in these trigger alerts into the app, which are essentially location-based notifications that you can get, and we've identified all of these areas all over the world. Anywhere that serves alcohol, anywhere where you can gamble, and you can also customize your own to personalize it. And if you are in one of these, a certain proximity of one of these locations, you'll get a gentle reminder that basically just gives you, a moment to think and breathe, and gives you resources and things like that, which you can choose or not to choose. But yeah, I was really proud of that. So that feature also ties into another really big component of the app, which is basically support people. I found throughout my own journey, the biggest game changer has been the people around me, family, friends, just anyone that's, kind of there to support. And you can actually loop in your support people into the Trigger app. They have their own separate, interface, and they also get sort of real-time alerts when you're, in a triggering location, or they can also see your recovery progress. And it's just a really good way to kind of build that, that community, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet.
Okay. So, and like you said, everyone's different, and that's the problem with medicine today, is that it's a one fit all solution, and the problem with that is, like you said, everyone's different, especially with their emotions. And addiction is an emotion, and like you said, triggers are those triggers of that emotion is what causes the effect. So, which is the reoccurring behavior. So, was going to say, so that's pretty cool that the AI can figure out what you need for you to reduce those triggers, and to identify when you're going to be triggered as well. That's pretty important. A lot of people go through their whole life and don't realize what the triggers are. Don't get it.
The way I see it, I mean, there's two parts to it, right? Like, firstly, you've got to understand yourself. You got to understand why, these things are triggers for you. You've got to understand where these emotions come from, and obviously understand the program. That's the first part of it. And then the second part is reprogram, right? Dealing with, coming up with new strategies and new ways to deal with things that maybe, you would have self-medicated to deal with in the past. And that's what I wanted to really be the essence of Trigger. So it gives you ways to understand yourself and reflect, but then it also gives you real world tools in real time to actually start rebuilding a life that you're not trying to escape from. Do you know what I mean? And that's, I think at the end of the day, that's what addiction is. It's, trying to escape from reality. So if you can build a reality where you don't have to escape, that's I think that's you're going to be pretty happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So tell us, what got you into this? What got you into addiction? And I know that you had the Irish call it the curse. That's the alcohol. And what led you to think that the world needs an app to figure out how to resolve their addictions? What led you to that?
I think it was just a long time of like waking up and going, all right, I'm never drinking again, and then drinking that night, Like, if I'm being really honest, obviously it's a little bit difficult to talk about, but I think it's just, you do that for long enough and you're going to try and start to think outside of the box to find solutions, and I feel like I've worked out some things that have helped me a lot, and, I've been sober for a while now. And, life is just so much better. And I know no one can, I don't know, like, you can't really help anyone that doesn't want to help themselves. But I think just giving people the tools, to kind of create their own recovery is important. Like I said earlier, like, AA is great. And if it helps you, fantastic. But never really helped me. I didn't get a lot out of it. I felt like it was very outdated, and I felt like it was, it was just a one-size-fits-all type of thing. They just said, yeah, just keep coming back to meetings and you'll be right. I don't think that's really a strategy. So I wanted to build something that had all sorts of different strategies, and that really took the individual and customized it to them, so they can customize it to themselves. I don't want to just give everyone the exact same treatment, because that's not going to work.
Yeah, well, exactly right. And sometimes the reminder of the addiction itself can be a trigger as well. So,
yeah,
like going to a meeting, for instance, sometimes they can trigger you. That's right, I have an addiction.
Yeah,
and
look, I don't want to be the anti-AA guy. Like I said, it does help some people, and it's great. And if it works for you, like, amazing. I'm really, really happy for you. But for me, I'd sit in a church hall listening to these guys basically relive the glory days, and it almost fires you up and makes you want to go have a drink. You know what I mean? So, for me, I wanted to just have a couple of different ways. Yeah.
But like you said, that it doesn't fit all. Everyone's different, and yeah. So that's commendable that you've thought about that. There is alternatives to AA out there. There are. I heard of a community in South America. There's a gentleman there. He's got a retreat, and he helps with addiction as well. And yeah, he uses a different method altogether, completely different.
Yeah. What sort of stuff are you doing?
So instead of talking about what he does is he basically replaces the addiction with something else. So instead of like drinking, for instance, every time you go to drink, you instead of drinking alcohol, why don't you just drink some water? Why don't you drink some? He tries to get the mentality differently. So the addiction is still there, but it's with that addiction. And see, I get it, Josh, because in our community, it's really hard to be the sober guy. It's really hard.
Yeah.
There's not many people that I know that are completely sober. There's not many people.
Yeah,
it's very.
It is. We live in a culture that shoves it down your throat your whole life. Like it's just the way it is. And I don't know if we're ever going to change that, but I think it is starting to shift. I think people are starting to. You got the sober curious sort of movement, and people are just starting to not drink so much for health reasons. I think it is starting to change, but you're right. Like, it is hard, which kind of ties back into the whole philosophy of the app, right? Like, you get the location triggers, right? Like, if I walked into a pub, I'd get like a notification on my phone. It's not like going to yell at you. It's just it's just going to say, like, hey, I can see you're at the pub. Do you want to talk about it? Do you want to maybe do a little 5-minute breath work or something, just to kind of like reset your nervous system, right? And that's because, like, I'm 23, right? Like, I'm not going to just avoid pubs like they're the plague. Like, I've got friends, I've got events at pubs. I like to go and play pool and things like that. So I'm not going to just avoid the pub. So I needed to kind of find a way to incorporate sobriety into my life in a way that's not going to become my whole identity. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and that's awesome that the app does that. So that's a great insight that you've given us. That is what the app is capable of doing. It's actually giving you a heads up. you're in a trigger zone.
Yeah,
You're in a
I know,
pub.
it sounds funny, but I guess the other thing too that's really, really important to me, right, about this whole journey is, like I mentioned earlier, like the support people. You know, everyone talks about how hard it is to go through addiction as the person that's dealing with it, but not a lot of people, I guess, give much attention to like the people that are around those people, right? Like your mom, your dad, your family, your partner. You know, like I know so many people that are going through addiction, and it's very hard on them, but it's so hard on their family. Do you know what I mean? And what I've seen time and time again is when someone gets sober, it takes a very long time to rebuild that trust. You know, because addiction teaches you to hide, to lie, cover your tracks. You know, and you get very, very good at it over a long enough time period, right? So I wanted a way to loop those people in, give them resources, give them support, and give them a way to kind of fast track that relationship rebuild, if that makes sense. So it's obviously all optional, but if you want to loop someone in as a support person, they can also get those real-time updates like, hey, Josh is at the pub, maybe see if he's okay, and there's specific tools for those support people as well, on educational tools on how to deal with it, and how to go about it the right way that's not going to upset anyone or cross any lines. But I thought that was really important, and I'm excited to see how that goes. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you it's all good in theory, huh? It's better to see it in practice.
Yeah.
True. So
yeah, for sure.
So what about your experience with mental health and addiction as well? Have you helped others in certain areas or like community services or anything like
that? Good question. Like not really. I think for probably like the most of this, the last sort of 10 years, it's sort of been put on your own oxygen mask before you try and help others, which I feel like I did. And then, the second I kind of felt like I figured it out, and I, got into a really good rhythm and a good place in my life. Yeah, I wanted to build the app. That's kind of been my mission now, is to try and spread that positivity and give people those tools. But yeah, look, like I said, like I have had a lot of friends and a lot of family that are also in similar situations, and I feel like a lot of those people have been able to lean on me because it has been a really big part of my life, and it's always been something I'm very open about. I've never really, I've never really hid from it too much. Obviously, I've gone on and off for a while and trying to get a lid on it, but I've always been very sort of open about where I'm at in my journey. So I do have a few sort of friends and family that come to me and ask me about, anything I can help them with to do with addiction and mental health.
Yeah, cool. And like, I can understand why, because there is a systemic issue. I mean, a lot of people in the community are affected by it, especially alcohol, but it's becoming more and worse for the crystal meth. I worked in the hospital system for 10 years, and I saw 90% of the mental health issues that I saw in the hospitals was created by meth. So it's a huge issue in our communities. It's only getting worse. It's probably the worst addiction you can get. Only like 3% actually recover. It's pretty low. They either end up in jail or they end up dead.
Yeah, and it's so much more common than you think. Like, maybe not you. It sounds like you're across it, but a lot of people, I think they don't realize how common that is. Like, I've always stayed away from it. Alcohol is my poison. But yeah, it's very, very common, and it's shocking. Like, it's crazy. People that you just wouldn't even think involved in that are.
Yeah, exactly right. And a dear friend of the family, I always wondered, he is in his 60s and he worked really hard, and I was thinking to myself, there's only two ways you could be doing that, and that's either you're taking an amphetamine from the doctor,
which is a whole separate issue in itself.
he likes to give. Oh, that's right. It's not called pushing, is it? It's called prescribing. And then there's also, or he's getting it from the street. And I was hoping it was just an amphetamine. I was hoping it was just an amphetamine, but there was this other part of me that was thinking, nah, this looks like meth. This looks like he's a functional meth addict. And if you think that there isn't, because we see on TV and on social media that the worst, the really bad abusers of it, where they're doing weird things in the street and rambling on, and that's what we determine as a meth addict. I'm sorry to say, no, it's not true.
Yeah,
it's it can be your brother or sister or son or daughter, or your mother or father. It can be anyone.
Yeah,
wouldn't even know.
No, 100%. Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like I've been shocked when I've found out how commonplace it is. And you're right. We see the worst of it, and we assume that that's what it looks like, but that's it's definitely not always the case. I mean, it's the same with alcohol, right? Like Hollywood's kind of movies and things like that. They've given us this idea of what alcoholism looks like, and it's having vodka for breakfast and that sort of thing, which is again not the case. Like so many people you wouldn't really ever think are struggling with alcohol, but they are, and it's harder because it's everywhere. Like I walk down to the beach down the road. I'll walk past 4 different bottle shops and 3 different pubs, and it's just, So I think giving people, tools and education is obviously important as well.
Exactly right. And then you've got the other addictions, the gambling as well. Gambling is, there was a premier in Queensland. His name was Joe Bjelke-Peterson. And, he limited what gambling we could do. We could gamble at the, the horse races. We could gamble there, but we couldn't gamble on pokies. And he actually stopped it up until the 1990s when he actually, he was actually kicked out of office. And now he was very, he's corrupt. He went through the Fitzgerald inquiry, so he lost his memory for some reason. Anyway, he stopped. For whatever reason, he was religious, and he believed that gambling was going to destroy families. That's what he believed, and I got to say I agree with him, because since they've introduced pokies in our communities, it's crazy. I was a security guard for 20 years, and I worked at many clubs, and I had to start earlier. Sometimes I'd have to start at 10 a.m. in the morning. Why?
Yeah.
Because people will be waiting at the front of the clubs, waiting to get in and play the pokies.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
But we don't have a systemic gambling issue. Really?
It's crazy. It's crazy. And like I think New South Wales is one of the worst for it in the country. I mean, I don't know exactly, but I believe in other states it's not as common, right? My partner, she's from the US. I've been with her for like 3 or 4 years now, like a while. But when she first came over here and we were hanging out and going out, she just couldn't believe that everywhere had a poker machine. Like every pub has pokies, and she was just blown away by it. And it kind of just reminded me, I was like, oh, other places aren't like this, It's so common. You go to the pub with your friends and, let's go have a slap, and then you're $400 down. It's like on a Tuesday. It's wild.
Yeah, yes, that's what I'm saying. So the last 35 years, we've had pokies in Queensland. If you wanted to go and play pokies, you had to go to Tweed Heads. Prior to that. Prior to 1990, you had to go to Tweed Heads to play the pokies. So
Because it's on the
And
border.
Keno wasn't around. There was, because it's on the border.
Yeah, right.
So in Queensland, we never had it. There was no such thing. So, and of course, then they introduced Keno, and the only thing that came, was similar was Gold Lotto, and of course, that was once a week.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's shocking.
They've just made it.
Yeah.
They've made it 24/7.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, that's another thing that we've included into the app is identifying where you can gamble, and we'll also give you a trigger alert if you're there. But again, if you don't have a problem with gambling, it's not gonna matter. But there are so many people that do, and I think now it's really hard because you can do it online. You can just gamble on the sports bet and things like that. It's wild. It's so crazy to think that's the world we live in.
I heard I was listening to radio the other day, and they were saying that 30% of all pokies gambling was done online.
Yeah,
30%. So 70% is in physically, so they go to the pub or whatever to play the pokies. The other 30%, they're doing it online. So it's a growing business. And then of course there's it's probably the second longest game addiction, I should say, besides third, besides gambling and alcohol, is cigarettes. And of course it's gotten even worse now. We've got vaping.
With the vapes, yeah, it's crazy with the vapes. I mean, people that never would have probably taken up smoking cigarettes are now vaping. That's wild. It makes sense. If you smoke cigarettes your whole life and then you swap to vapes, that's one thing. But there's these young kids that have never touched a cigarette and they're vaping. It's the the tobacco industry pivoted and did very well. So I think I've lost you.
Yeah. Well, I found out that in the 1970s, they actually went to the chemist and said, "Well, how can we make this addictive?" And there is a chemical that's in. It's not nicotine. It's a chemical. I can't remember the name of it. I can find out. But they put it in the cigarettes. To what? To what end? To make it addictive. So
yeah, I believe it.
If it's 1970s, basically you're smoking real tobacco. But after that, you're smoking something that used to be tobacco.
Yeah.
So and now they've gone to vapes. Well, there's documentaries on it now. There's one on Netflix. It's about the Juul company that brought out vapor.
Yeah.
And they basically made the tobacco 10 times stronger.
Yeah. I think there's far more nicotine in those things than there is a cigarette.
And they tried to sell it to us that it was better. It was better for us at the start. So that was So that's what I call magic.
Yeah, I mean, it's a certain type of magic, I think.
It's just making stuff up. Just make it up and let's tell the world that it's all good for you.
It's all marketing, You can market anything.
Exactly right, and and now we've got this epidemic of kids getting addicted to it, and I'm talking 10, 11, 12 years of age getting addicted to it. That comes back to accessibility.
Yeah.
They got access to it. How? So, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean they're like bubblegum flavored as well. So
I think
why wouldn't kids want to get involved?
The other thing is that they're smokeless. You can get some there's no smoke.
Yeah, we can do it inside, right? Like I think that's one of the arguments. Like cigarettes, you had to kind of make an event of it. You'd go outside, you'd have one, come back inside.
Yeah.
2 hours later, you'd go and have another one. Whereas vapes, you could just do them all day. Just do it inside, do it outside, doesn't matter.
No one smells it. That's crazy. I saw these. I remember I caught a train about 4 months ago, in the city, in Brisbane City, and these two kids were vaping on, but I couldn't see any smoke. There was no smoke, and I couldn't smell a thing. I was like, "What? How that?" But that's what they've done. They've made it so it's smokeless and it's odorless.
I was on I went to New Zealand a couple of weeks ago. I was on a plane, and halfway through the flight, the smoke alarm goes, or like an alarm goes off. I didn't know what it was, and all of these flight attendants just ran all the way to the back, like just booked it to the other end of the plane, and they like opened the bathroom door, and there's a guy just vaping in there. So I was like, I was pretty panicked. I, heard this alarm and then see all these flight attendants running, and I was freaking out. I was like, oh, what's happening? Like, we're going down for sure. And then it turns out it was just a guy vaping in the bathroom. So I was a bit relieved, but yeah, imagine lighting a cigarette on a plane these days. You wouldn't, no one would ever do that. But I don't know, people think they can smoke vapes on a plane, I guess.
Unbelievable. So
it was crazy.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, okay. I was going to say, they're just making it so accessible now for people to do it anyway. So the app actually helps with that too. It helps with vaping and cigarettes as well.
Yeah, look, I mean, the app's just like to give you tools to identify these things and deal with it the way you want to deal with it. You know what I mean? The trigger alerts are really cool. Like obviously I designed it around alcohol and drugs, but yeah, like tobacco shops, you could have them for that as well. And like all of the tools, like we've got these different resources like guided breathwork, guided breathworks, guided meditations. Got these really cool sort of like audio tracks where, visualization, different techniques. They're all voiced by my good friend Lane Sinclair, who's got a phenomenal voice. So they're really, really great to listen to in the moment. You can listen to them on the go, and they can just kind of help center you and reframe sort of the way you're thinking about things. And I guess look, in theory, any addiction could probably be it's probably going to help, but yeah, the main thing is obviously alcohol and drugs.
Yeah, that's so cool.
But look, in my experience, I mean, a lot of these things, they tend to overlap. If I was drinking, I was probably doing drugs, and I was probably smoking cigarettes too. You know what I mean? So
absolutely, they usually overlap. They
definitely do. Too,
Yeah. And it's gone to the point now where I found out that not so much here in Australia, but I've heard it's big in the universities here, but over in the States they call them Adderall parties. So Adderall is a amphetamine, if anyone doesn't know what Adderall is, and they use it for to keep awake. So a lot of emergency services use it to keep themselves, alert, because apparently it makes you feel you feel wide awake, like your mind is alert, but your body feels tired. That's what I've been told. So that, so I've heard of. I was watching a YouTube video the other day, and there was a mayor of a county over there in the United States, and he admitted that his police force were having Adderall parties What the
Yeah,
hell?
right.
So
That's wild.
it's an amphetamine. So amphetamines are
Yeah.
what? They're very addictive.
Yeah,
It's the
100%.
same with opioids. Opioids are Panadine for and codeine, tramadol, um, morphine, heroin.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean
So
they all like have their street versions as well, right? Like these are prescription drugs, like Adderall's for what, like ADHD, right? And then you've got all the opioids for pain. But once that dries up, people go to the street and they start doing, and that's how you get these big these big crises, right? So it's just, not good.
So a lot, So I found out a lot of students were taking it here in Australia, and apparently over the States, United States, has been going on for over a decade now. They've been more than that for a couple of decades. They've been using Adderall to sit their exams and study all night and stuff like that. Cram study, and they take the Adderall to go into the exams and then pass.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. I've heard it's like strangely quite big with like journalists as well. Like some of these journos are doing Adderall just so they can write these stories, which is interesting. So I think it's a bigger problem than we probably realize as well.
Absolutely, because as I said, it's an amphetamine, and I'm sorry to say, they're addictive. And as, like I said, the same with opioids. The prescriptions as well. So that I mean, our health minister came out in 2016 and said we've got a fentanyl issue. So, and that's an opioid. That's one of the heaviest opioids you can get. They use it in surgery normally. So So, and I mean, those pills that we get prescribed can lead to street addictions, like heroin, like crystal meth. So that's another big issue. That's another huge issue because we're basically legally getting people addicted, and then they're going off and using bigger and harder, stronger things. So that's like, whoa, hang on.
Yeah, 100%.
So
I think there's documentaries about that whole opioid crisis. Very interesting in the States.
Yeah, well, on Netflix they've got there's The Pharmacist. Was it Painkillers? Is it Pain Hustlers? Pain Hustlers.
Pain Hustlers. Yeah.
Pain Hustlers. That's about fentanyl. And there's another one about fentanyl. Anyway, I can't remember. But apparently there's a and there's also a documentary on Adderall as well, and Ritalin.
Yeah. What's that
Adderall
called?
and Ritalin. I can't remember. It's
That's all right.
All you'd have to do is just put in Adderall. Adderall in your search. Yeah. It was at the start. It was about a NFL player, and he got addicted to painkillers, and then to keep his mental clarity, he took Adderall.
Yeah, just to cancel each other out.
Yeah, pretty much. And
uppers and downers.
Uppers and downers. So that, and then, of course, he got addicted, and his body just basically gave up, and so then they did a documentary on him, and then they went into and then I found out about how Adderall was created and how Ritalin was created, and it wasn't originally used for ADHD. It was used for mental alertness. So they were going to use it for students. That's who they were going to target.
Yeah,
And
right.
they realized they were giving it to young kids. They realized that their behavior changed. Mate, if I go into a medication about what they really wanted to do originally, and then I go,
Yeah.
oh, well, we can change the way that we market this now
Well, it
because of
seems like they
the research.
ended up. Yeah, that's wild. Look, I don't know much about it, but yeah, the concept of giving children amphetamines is pretty wild. You know?
Yeah,
Like, if it works, great. I don't know enough about it, but yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, well, the theory is that they're producing too much adrenaline, and the Adderall and what's it called? I just said it, Ritalin.
Yeah.
Neutralizes that production of the stress hormones.
Yeah, right.
That's
Yeah.
the,
No,
that's
I've had friends that have ADHD, and they swear by it. So it obviously does something. I'm not a doctor. I don't know enough about it, but it is crazy to think that it started off as one thing and ended up being another. You know?
Oh, Panadol is a perfect example. It's a pyretic. They call it an anti-pyretic. So what that means is it brings the temperature of your body down. So if you've got a fever, it brings the temperature down.
Yeah.
But then they realized, oh, it's an anti-inflammatory as well. So let's sell it as a painkiller.
Interesting.
Oh, Viagra's even better. So Viagra, they use that to raise blood pressure, and raise the heart rate. That's what they originally used. We're going to use it for, because they're trying to figure out how to bring people's blood pressure up, and also because they don't really have a drug for it. And also to raise their heart rate. They call it bradycardia. And anyway, they found out that in the male subjects, they're getting erections. Well, obviously, you're raising the blood pressure. So you're raising the blood pressure everywhere. So then they realized, oh, we can sell this as a erectile dysfunction drug.
There you go.
The problem is,
makes sense.
The problem is, guys that have got high blood pressure are taking a medication that raises their blood pressure.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like a problem, but hey, don't worry about it. You know, you're gonna have a good time. It lasts longer than 4 hours. Come see us. You know.
Well, the last thing on their the last thing on their list will be they had a good time.
Yeah, they go out with a bang. You know, let them enjoy it.
So there's this So medication is another problem as well. It causes addictions as well.
Absolutely.
So that's great that the app helps with the emotional thinking. So the thinking around.
Yeah, and it's also like it's just a tool. You know what I mean? Like I just wanted to connect people with the right tools and give them enough options so that they can find something that works for them. You know, another big thing is I mentioned it earlier. Like a lot of these apps they have. Forums and like community sort of sections, which are great. Don't get me wrong. It's a great idea. But when everyone can post, sometimes it does more harm than good, if that makes sense. Like a lot of these people in vulnerable states, they're going through very challenging times. They might be in active addiction or they might be early stage recovery. And, when they're sometimes some of these posts, they do more harm than good, right? They can be triggering for other people on the platform as well. And I've seen that a lot with some of these apps. So we have a community on Trigger, but it's very strict sort of criteria. So we call them mentors, and they're the only people that are allowed to post, and they have to apply for it and have to have some sort of credentials. And so we kind of vet these people so that anything you see on the app is going to be, it's going to be beneficial, it's going to be positive, it's going to be empowering, it's going to be helpful. And these guys, a lot of them are coaches, therapists, psychologists, hypnotherapists, these sorts of things. And if you see something that you resonate with, you can actually go offline and take it offline and continue sort of doing some work with them. So again, like Trigger is just meant to be a tool just to connect people with things that are, may or may not help them. And they can kind of, customize their own journey, because that's what it's all about. I don't have all the answers. If I sat there and gave everyone the exact same tools, it wouldn't be very good. So that's my philosophy around it.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm.
What so demographically, so you're looking at, so I'll go into the third question. So who's your ideal client for which you've sort of already answered.
Yeah.
Who's your ideal client or avatar that you'd like to help the most?
Well, look, I mean, to be honest, it's me, right? Like I kind of mentioned this earlier. But like I said, like I know the struggle of waking up and just, got to make a change, and then just not being able to, just not having the tools, not having the resources to actually do anything, right?
Yeah.
I've downloaded apps that give me a nice little day counter and tell me how many days I'm on, and it just doesn't help. It's so I built what I wanted and what I couldn't find, and I think anyone that's anyone like myself that's been through that journey, has tried to get sober more than once, goes to AA, doesn't really help, doesn't really know where to start, and I don't know, feels like they've got a very long road in front of them. That's the ideal avatar, I think.
Geez, that's everyone.
Yeah, I mean, more or less, like everyone can download Trigger.
Well, everyone has some sort of some sort of addiction. Some are unhealthy.
Look, the breathworks and the meditations are for everyone. You could download it and get a lot of value out of just those alone. I think everyone should be, focusing more on those sorts of things. So, look, even if you don't have an addiction and you just want to find some good meditations, go for it. I'm not going to stop you.
Yeah. That makes sense. So, and I'll go. So yeah, that's great that you're trying to help the community in this way, because it is affecting so many people, and it is a systemic issue. Even if the government is trying to cover it up and distract us with other events, but this is the seriousness of our society and how this is affecting us all. It's all around us. Like I said, that gentleman before, that he's a dear friend of the family, he ended up passing away. He had an aneurysm from the crystal meth, and he luckily he died pretty much very soon afterwards. But he wouldn't have known. He would have been. They drugged him to the eyeballs, and he didn't know what was going on. He was found unconscious, so he didn't recover. He didn't recover to consciousness, so he wouldn't know what happened. He would, he died in ICU. So that's what I'm saying. It's affecting all of us, and I'm seeing it a lot now. It's even more, especially in the last few years. Because you can't lock people up and tell them to eat Uber Eats and go to the bottle every day. I expect to have social problems.
Yeah, 100%. And anyone that, like I mentioned earlier, anyone that's say you got one person that is directly going through some sort of addiction, there's probably 5-10 people that love that person that are also kind of suffering as well, right? So
exactly right.
It's just like this compounding effect of negativity, right? And it's crazy. So absolutely. Doing my best to try and help, doing my bit.
So so I'll move on to the last question. You've done well, mate. It's almost 50 minutes, so well done.
Thanks. Sorry, I go on some tangents, but
that's good. That's good, because we need to talk about them. We need to talk about addiction, especially because it's just affecting so many people now. It's rife. So so what ideas or information would you give us, Josh, to provide lifelong longevity?
Lifelong longevity. Well, look, I'm only 23. I don't know if I'm fully qualified to give TED Talk on longevity just yet. But I do know I have listened to your podcast. I do know that you asked this question, so I wanted to have something. I guess this is what I've figured out so far. about longevity. There's kind of two moving parts, right? There's obviously adding years to your life is, you know, the very literal definition. And there's lots of people that will tell you how to do that. You know, there's ice baths and saunas and blood transfusions with your teenage son. Like, there's all sorts of crazy stuff on the internet. But I think the more sort of important thing is like the quality of those years that you're going to live, right? For me, you know, it's about living a life that's worth living. And you've probably heard of this, but there's a really interesting, I think it was, don't quote me, but I think it was a Harvard study that ran for like 80 years. And they found, you know, the single sort of biggest predictor in quality of life and longevity was the relationships that you had, you know, the quality of those relationships, which makes sense, right? You know, even more than diet, even more than exercise, it was, you know, the quality of your relationships, which is just amazing. So I think for me, my rules for myself are pretty simple. You know, it's like move your body every day, keep good people around you, learn, try and reflect, and, you know, make a sort of positive difference where you can. And I feel like, look, if you live to 50, you live to 100, you live to 150, it's going to be a pretty, you know, a life well spent.
Words of wisdom, mate. Very well done. Much appreciated. And thank you so much for your time. Much appreciated. I got some gold nuggets from you today. And yeah, especially about the app. And I can see it's going to be a magnificent tool for the community to use, because it's going to affect so many people and help them to resolve these issues. Resolve, not just manage. So yeah, we appreciate your efforts in creating the app, mate. So much appreciated.
No, thank you so much, Dr. Scott, for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right, guys, you've been watching the Get Busy Livin podcast with Joshua George, and thanks very much for coming on. So because you didn't bag me too much, I'm going to give you access to my health club. So, Josh, yeah, it's going to cost you $1 for the first month, but normally it costs $11 for the. So you get access to 9 modules. I teach you about EFT, emotional freedom technique, meditation, which you already know about, nutrition, exercise, and there's 5 other modules. So it's over 60 lessons, and yeah, you get it for $1, mate. So much appreciated.
Amazing, mate. Thank you so much. Excited. I'll check it out.
All right. Thanks very much, guys. There it is there. It's down the bottom. And like I said, you can go and check out Josh on TikTok. That's his profile. That's his profile.
Yeah, it's down the bottom, and the Instagram as well. And
that's the Instagram. So this is Trigger. This is Trigger. So thanks. I love that name. This is Trigger.
Thanks.
All right, guys. You have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.